Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this orientation event focused on the requirements and the admission test for the Medicine and Surgery degree course. For the moment, I kindly ask you to switch off your microphone in order to avoid any possible noise. Should any questions arise during the presentations, there will be time during the question and answers moment to ask everything and to get all the needed information. I shortly introduce myself. I am Elisa Comentale and I work for the orientation office here in Humanitas University, which is a life science university based in Rozzano, near Milano. We can say that our university was born from the educational and teaching vocation of Humanitas, that today is a well-known group of hospitals with the centers located almost all over Italy. Among all the centers and the hospitals of the group, the main and the first hospital that was built in 1996 is the one that we have here nearby our university campus and our research lab. As a university, we host 4 undergraduate courses. As you can see, the Medicine and Surgery 1, the MedTech School, that are both taught in English, and then the Nursing and Physiotherapy courses that are both taught in Italian. We also have some postgraduate courses and the continuing education as well. The focus of today is on the Medicine and Surgery course, and that every year hosts 130 European students and 50 non-European students. Sorry? Okay. Okay, sorry. The focus so is on the Medicine and Surgery course, and in particular on the admission test and requirements. Before going into details of these 2 topics, I would like to give you briefly some important information. The first information is about the admission test, so the HUMAT test, that will take place on the 12th and 13th of February for all the students that have their residence in Italy. The test will probably take place in our 15 test centers located almost all over Italy. And I said probably because the test will take place in the test centers only if in accordance with the next government's instructions. For this reason, Humanitas University will confirm or not that the test will take place in the test centers within 1 month before the day of the test. Otherwise, the test will be online. For all the students that have their residence in any other country, the test will be on the 11th of February and it will take place online. The registration for the academic year 2021 and 2022 are open, and you can find everything at this link. Another important information is that from today, the application for the Medicine and Surgery Preparation Weeks are open at this link. The preparation weeks are intensive courses of 1 week, and they will take place in January on our Demio online platform. The first week for the preparation weeks will take place from the 16th until the 23rd of January, and the second one will be from the 23rd of January until the 13th of January. The main aim of the preparation week is to give our students a methodological approach to the test. So, for instance, how to read questions, or also how to immediately understand which are the wrong answers of the test. So if you are interested in attending one of the 2 weeks available, I suggest you go on our website, search for the preparation week page, and then complete the 3 steps online application. I inform you that there are only 50 places available for the preparation weeks. Now, my presentation is over, and I'm pleased to introduce you who is here with me today. So, Dr. Luca Timoniere, who works for the student office here in our university, and mainly deals with the student services and admissions. And also Professor Riccardo Sarti, lecturer of chemistry and biochemistry in our physiotherapy and nursing degree courses, but also teacher of logical reasoning and math in our preparation weeks. So thank you again for joining, and I give the floor to Dr. Luca Timoniere for the entry requirements presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. My colleague Elisa has already introduced me, so I am Luca Timoniere. I work for the student office and I mainly deal with admissions. Now I will share my screen with you to show you which are the admissions requirements to be able to access the medicine and surgery degree course. All right, as you can see, and I hope that you can see, this is our website. I have decided to use our website as I believe it can be also, it can work as a reference for you in case you have any future doubts about the admissions requirements. This page can be found on our website in the Apply section of the Medicine and Surgery degree course. I will immediately start saying that we do not require any English language certification in order to access the medicine and surgery degree course. It is one of the most common questions that prospective students ask us. Why we do not require any English language certification? Very simply, as our admissions test is of course in English language, and it works as a proof of English, if we can say so. We do believe that students who will perform very well into the admissions test are of course capable of understanding the English language, and as Professor Sarti will tell you later on during the presentation, there's also a part of the admissions test, which is the academic literacy, where students will be required to read and understand scientific articles. Of course, we expect that students with a good English knowledge will be able to do so. As a recommendation, we believe that a B2 as a level, an entry level for the medicine and surgery degree course will be enough, as it will help students understanding the vocabulary used during classes. Then for sure students will be able to pick up to improve their English language abilities during the course, as they will attend classes in English every day, but also they will be it will be possible for you to speak to many other students coming from all over the world, so English language will be the main mean of communication. Then we go on to the educational requirements. So the minimum entry requirement is of course a high school diploma. For Italian students who are attending any Italian high school, liceo, or any other kind of high school, it will be enough to obtain the high school diploma regardless of the final grade. And this is the minimum entry requirement from the educational point of view. The same, of course, applies for foreign students, with a small difference. In Italy, the local school system provides students with 13 years of education when they arrive to the last year of high school. In many cases abroad, the schooling system provides with 12 years of education. So foreign students who obtain their high school diploma after 12 years of education can obviously apply for the admissions test. As Elisa was telling you, the test will take place in February. So we expect that the majority of our students, of our next students, won't have obtained the high school diploma by that term. You will be obviously it will be obviously possible for you to apply for the admissions test. Please keep in mind that you will have to complete the high school by the end of the next year, so 2021, then to be able to complete your enrollment, as this is the most important entry requirement. So high school diploma is necessary to go on to the university. There are some exceptions though, which apply to UK, US students who are studying in international schools, but also in Greece. And as you can see, UK students who are at the moment still considered as European students. So if you look at our call for applications, UK students are still European students and can register for the EU admissions test. These students are though required to obtain at least 3 A-levels in science-related subjects such as biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, even psychology, to be able to access the university. It is not mandatory to obtain A stars, A or B as final grades. It is important to achieve the 3 A-levels to be able to register for the admissions test. Also, US students, I'm going a bit down, okay. US students, usually I know that they apply or you apply after completing your bachelor. If you have completed a bachelor or are completing a bachelor, you can definitely and immediately apply for the admissions test. However, if you're about to finish your high school, you will need 3 APs, so advanced placements, again in science-related subjects, to be able to apply for the admissions test. If you do not hold this requirement, but you have already completed 2 years of college, you can apply as well without having the 3 APs. Alternatively, you can have completed 1 year of college education, but in this case, you'll be required to have obtained at least 4 advanced placements. Greek students will obtain the apoliterion, so the Greek high school title, are required to obtain a score which is higher than 10 out of 20 to be able to register for the admissions test and to complete their enrollment. And then last but not the least, students who are studying in international schools, so students who are obtaining their IB, International Baccalaureate, they can apply, provided that they obtain the International Baccalaureate. There is no specific requirement regarding the subjects that you are going to choose and studying during the last 2 years of the International Baccalaureate. Please keep in mind that in the case of International Baccalaureate obtained after only 11 years of education, of schooling, then it is mandatory to complete at least 1 year of university, any kind of degree course, to be able to apply for the medicine and surgery degree course. But these rules apply in general for any Italian university, any kind of course. So the same applies for the European Baccalaureate, and I'll go up again. There is another exception for some non-EU students probably. if your local school system provides for 11 or 10 years of schooling, in your specific case, you will be required to complete, so to integrate with 1 or 2 years of university, any kind of degree, by completing all of the subjects included in the study plan of those years to be able to apply for the admissions test. So probably with a short recap, I would say high school diploma in general is enough. No English language certifications are required to apply for the admissions test. European students, international students who will obtain their high school diploma after 12 years of education can apply directly, unless you are a student studying in the UK, in the US, or in Greece, or if you are obtaining an international baccalaureate. In this case, the rules I've just mentioned apply for you. I think that this is it. You can use again the website for future reference. There will be an answers and questions time at the end of the presentation. So I'll stay here, but now I'll leave Professor Sarti the opportunity to go in details into the Humanitas University medical admissions test to give you an overview of the questions that you can find and probably on also how you can prepare for it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Luca, for all the details and the introduction. Elisa, did you want to say anything before I start, or can I just...
No,
get this
you
started?
can start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So let me share my screen so that we can go into detail in the HUMAT test. Okay, are you seeing my screen?
See, yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thanks. So how is the HUMAT structured? There are two parts. One is called the scientific thinking, and the other part is called the academic literacy. There are 30 questions in each part, and you will have 1 hour to complete each part. The two parts are completely separate from each other. So if you spare some time from the first part, you cannot use it for the other part. Okay, so just the best thing you can do is, I think, use the entire time available to do as much as you can for the scientific thinking, which will be the first part that you will have to solve, and then just move on to the next one. Each of the questions is a multiple choice question containing 4 options. Of course, only one option is correct and the other 3 are incorrect. You get 3 points for each correct answer. You get you lose 1 point for every incorrect answer, and if you leave a question unanswered, you get no points. As a consequence, in each section, in each part, you can obtain at most 90 points, which means if you do the sum of the 2 parts, at most 180 points as a total maximum score. Now, the scientific thinking is further divided into 3 subsections. One is called mathematical thinking, the second one procedural thinking, and the third one visual thinking. Each of these subsections is made of 10 questions, so the total is 30. And the questions are presented in random order within the scientific thinking, with the options shuffled randomly. So every candidate will see a different order of the questions and also a different order of the options for each question. Then each of the subsections is built on a set of abilities depending on that subsection. The mathematical thinking is built on a set of abilities which are predict changes in variables in simple formulae. use formulae by substituting values and calculating the result, solve problems with symbols in place of variables, including simultaneous equations, work with orders of magnitudes and conversions, put numbers in the correct order, including decimals and negative numbers, and finally, interpret graphs given an example. So there are 6 abilities on which the items belonging to this subsection are built. So I think that for sure you will find a question for each of these, and then the 4 remaining items will maybe cover the same ability twice, or possibly 2 or 3 of these abilities at the same time. Anyway, we go into the details during the preparation week, also seeing examples and how to try and solve those specific items. So these are the abilities for the mathematical thinking. Then also the procedural thinking is built on a set of abilities. One is choosing the most effective concept map to summarize a text. Another one is applying the concept of collecting elements from different sets, then follow a procedure, protocol, or algorithm correctly, for example, by using a flowchart, compare a set of data with a scientific theory that can be confirmed or disproved by the data shown, predict the outcome of a perturbation in an interconnected system, and finally select relevant data. Okay, so of course different abilities compared to the ones which belong to the mathematical thinking. And finally, the visual thinking also is built on 6 abilities, which are recognizing mirror images, demonstrate 3-dimensional thinking ability, demonstrate careful observations, including localizing objects in relation to other objects, identify different visual patterns, including based on a description or an example, describe a picture or a set of elements, and finally, finding complementary shapes. So, of course, again, you will find an item for each of these abilities, and then the 4 remaining abilities will cover possibly the same ability twice, or 2 or 3 of these. On the other hand, we have the academic literacy, which is the second part of the test. This one is built on 5 texts about scientific topics, and there will be 6 questions per text. Each text is about 700 words and divided into 6 paragraphs. And generally, you will find 1 question per paragraph. Okay. So 5 texts, each text with 6 questions. At the end of the test, you will have 2 main scores, one for the scientific thinking and the other one for the academic literacy. The scientific thinking is, in case it's needed, divided into MT, PT, and VT, meaning mathematical, procedural, and visual thinking, in order to distinguish candidates with the very same scores. But that's quite an unlikely event. The most important thing to remember in order to enter the ranking is that there is a threshold in each of the 2 parts. So if your score in the scientific thinking is less than 20, or if your score in the academic literacy is less than 20, then you are not admitted in the ranking. This was the most important requirement at the end of the last live test, as about only 1/3 of the candidates trying the test did pass this threshold. Okay, so out of, I think, 1,900 approximately candidates overall, considering both the EU and non-EU students, then maybe Elisa can give you the exact numbers later. If I remember well, only 600 or so were able to obtain at least 20 in the ST and also at least 20 in the YEL. So keep this in mind. You need to do not too bad in each of the 2 parts. So this is a striking example, just to make you understand how important this threshold is. If candidate A has got 19 in the scientific thinking, but 90 in the AL, which is the maximum, but B has got 20 and 20 in both sections, and this is the minimum, A is not admitted in the ranking due to the insufficient score in the ST, while B is admitted. Okay, so I really want to stress this because it's a really important thing to keep in mind. Now, once you are in the ranking, so once you have entered the ranking is built on the total score, which is just the sum of the two parts. This is the most natural choice to make. So nothing really to explain about this. If two candidates are both in the ranking, but one has a higher score, the one with the higher score will be higher in the ranking. And then there is another rule which applies when two candidates have the same total score. The one with, let's say, the more equilibrated scores will be higher in the ranking. More equilibrated means with the smaller absolute score difference. So the smaller absolute value of ST minus AL. So basically closer scores compared to the other candidate. Let me give you an example. So if candidate C has got 50 and 30 and candidate D has got 45 and 35, they are both in the ranking. Their sum is 80, which is the same. So we look at the score difference and the absolute score difference. It's 20 for candidate C and 10 for candidate D. D has closer numbers compared to C, so D will be higher in the ranking compared to C. Okay, this rule applied many times at the end of the last live test in last February. So of course it will be crucial for those falling exactly at the end of the list of candidates that can be admitted in HU. Consider also that many people at the beginning of the ranking decide to go elsewhere. Maybe about this also Lisa can give you exact numbers later if she hasn't already given you such numbers. So about, I think, position 300 or 350 can be reached when scrolling down the ranking because many people decide in the end to go elsewhere. So, well, this rule will be crucial if you fall exactly onto position 300 through 350, I would say. And we calculated last time during a similar presentation, I think that for EU students, a good score would be 100 as a whole, but no, I'm not really sure. Maybe these are the places. So I should look at that again because I don't want to give you incorrect numbers. Okay, so these should be just the places. Yeah, try simply to do as much as you can, of course. But for the EU students, the competition is much higher than for the extra EU students because the extra EU students are less numerous than the EU students trying to enter Humanitas. Anyway, after that, there are other rules that apply if there is another equivalence of the scores, meaning the same absolute score difference. I don't think this ever happened in the last live test, so these are really rules that are unlikely to apply. Anyway, if there are the same total scores and the same absolute score differences, the candidate with a higher ST prevails onto the other one, so that one will be higher in the ranking. And finally, if there are the same, exactly the same ST and AS scores, we look at the subsections of the scientific thinking. So only in this case do we look at them. First at the procedural thinking, then visual thinking, and last mathematical thinking. So you will also see some labels in the test, in the system that you will use, telling you if an item belongs to the procedural thinking to the visual thinking or to the mathematical thinking, so that you know what subsection you are facing. But that's not really relevant. Trust me, this is a really unlikely rule, because it's very likely that two people have exactly the same scores. So this was just an example showing the rule. We can skip it. And in the end, when every single score is exactly the same for two different people, the date of birth is considered to decide who will be higher in the ranking. The younger one prevails. But again, this is even less likely than the previous rule. Maybe in the remaining time, we can maybe see some examples of the abilities that I was explained to you before. For the procedural thinking, the ability to follow a procedural protocol or algorithm should be quite clear on its own, because more or less everyone knows what following a procedure or protocol means, and in particular when using flowcharts. So this is an example of flowchart, which does something on two words called W1 and W2. And the question is, which pair of words gives wow as a result? One can try each of these options and realize that I didn't put the answer. Well, in this case, if I remember correctly, it should be naive and tycoon. So W1 and W2, this gives wow as a result. Because if you follow the procedure, at the beginning, there are letters in common between W1 and W2. So you follow this path to the left. Then you raise, you do the operations which are imposed by the flowchart. And then after you have erased the first letter in W1 and the last letter in W2, they do not have any more letters in common. So the outcome in the end is no, which gives an output wow. Okay, so this is an example of question built on this ability. So for what concerns this ability, you will probably find an item which is similar, of course, in the substance, is similar to this one. It won't be like this one in every single detail, of course, but if it's a flowchart, the concept to apply will be analogous. And notice also that you cannot decide since the beginning which option is correct, because you need to examine the options. Okay, this is quite a common thing that will happen in the HUMAT test. In some cases, you may find the answer just by reasoning on the question and the problem which is presented at the beginning. In other cases, you will have to examine each of the options in order to decide which one is the correct one. And that will make you probably lose a bit more time. Now, we can skip that maybe. Let's see this one. Again, it's an ability belonging to the procedural thinking. Apply the concept of collecting elements from different sets. Okay, so here is in textual form. It may also be presented in a visual form. So here we can read that tomorrow is Jonathan's birthday, and his family has prepared 4 different bags, and he can choose one present from each bag. And we want to know which combination of presents is it impossible for Jonathan to choose. Again, we cannot decide without looking at the options. We need to examine the options. So, well, I don't know if you want to try this out. If you want to take a moment to look at this and try to answer. FHCY. Yeah, I agree with you. That looks quite impossible to obtain for the simple reason that since Jonathan has to choose one present from each bag, there should be something in each of the possible combinations. There must be one present from each bag. So from bag 1, we can choose either A, B, D, or E, but in this combination, there aren't any of these, right? FHCY is a combination that doesn't contain any of these letters. So this is impossible. Okay? So this is just an example of how you can exclude one possible combination. So this was the ability of collecting elements from different sets. Let's look at other examples. The comparison between a scientific theory and a set of data could appear in textual form like this. So you will have many observations, many how to say, scientific observations or properties of a certain organism or whatever, and you are asked to find a connection between a certain observed specimen and the possible causes of its properties. So in this example, we have an infected specimen of a plant, I think, and this plant has fragile red dot free leaves, underdeveloped roots, no information about the size of the leaves. So by considering these features of the specimen under observation, we go through the data, the scientific data, which are given as facts, and we decide what organisms could be responsible for the infection. Now, no need to do this now, because I would like to show you more examples in the remaining time. The select relevant data ability, also belonging to the procedural thinking, is the most common ability for HUMAT. I don't know if you have already tried to prepare for HUMAT or to solve items of the HUMAT type. By the way, if I am not wrong, HUMAT is still the kind of test which is used by the state university for courses in medicine in English. So it may be useful to also prepare for that, if I were you. Anyway, in HUMAT, some of the items belonging to the logical reasoning part are built on the select relevant data ability. You are given a list of requirements, and typically a table, and you need to erase rows and columns which do not respect the requirements, or in other words, you need to select the right rows and columns and find out the people or the objects that respect the requirements given in the text. Okay, so this is very typical of HUMAT, and it's also present in the HUMAT test as this ability in this subsection. Then by going on, the concept maps. This is also very textual. You will be given a medium length text containing a lot of structured information. And in my opinion, a good thing to do is try to organize that information with your own concept map or your own diagram, and then compare your diagram with the ones which are presented in the options. By the way, here in these examples, you see that the items have 5 options, because these are really the very first pilot tests that were done, I think, a couple of years ago to determine how the HUMAT should be. But now the options are just 4 for each item, okay? Not 5. Anyway, this was the concept map item. And then by going on, I wanted to show you also some examples for the visual thinking, which may be challenging for some people, especially if you're not very used to imagine things in your mind or to rotate things in your mind. A good way to improve your abilities, your visual abilities, especially for the 3-dimensional thinking ability, is to actually build the objects with some paper and colors, what you wish, and rotate the objects, actually rotate the objects in space so that you can look at them from different points of view and realize that maybe the same object can appear differently if you look at it from different points of view. So maybe you can build many copies of it and look at the same object from different points of view. One question could be, given a description, a textual description of an object, what is an impossible, which of these is an impossible view of the cube in this example? Okay, so you need to also deduce from the text where the faces are, how the various faces are placed, and then decide if that can be a possible view or not of the object described at the beginning. Also, finding complementary shapes is a visual ability. So in this specific case, the text explained that a regular sheet of paper is painted red on one side and blue on the other side, then cut into two pieces. You're given one of the pieces and you want to, you have to select the other piece. So the right answer must match both in color and in pattern. Keep in mind that maybe the piece is presented from the other point of view, from the back. And if I am not wrong here, the answer should be E, because if you rotate E, if you imagine rotating E 90 degrees clockwise, so you get something like this, and then you imagine flipping it horizontally, so that the face that you're looking at becomes the red one, it should fit perfectly into this pattern because of the length and width of the various teeth in this boundary. So this is an example of finding complementary shapes. And recognized mirror images can be presented with a Cartesian plane and reflections around the axis or certain straight lines. So again, the best thing to do to improve your abilities in recognizing mirror images may be to actually draw these images onto a paper and place them in front of a mirror and look in the image, at the image in the mirror, or look at the other side of the paper if you use a very black pen so that you can look through the paper in a certain way. Those are all tricks to increase your ability about mirror images. So I strongly advise you to do that if you feel that you need to do some exercises with this. The identifying different visual patterns ability is probably the easiest ability among the ones belonging to the visual thinking, because you will be given a list describing a certain pattern, and then you need to select the right pattern from the options. So you need just to, as a checklist, you need to check that every bullet in the list is satisfied. And when you find a pattern that doesn't respect one of the requirements, you just cancel that out. You don't consider that anymore, and you restrict the possible candidates for the correct answer. Demonstrating careful observations, you will be given a picture, and something will be asked about the picture. And finally, in the mathematical thinking section, let me just give you a couple of examples. Use formula by substituting values and calculating the result is, as it is explained by the name of the ability. You will be given a set of formulae linked to each other in a certain way. You will be given values of certain variables, and by substituting these values into the formula, into the equations, you will be able to find out the value of one of the variables. So you may have to find the inverse formula of the formula given, but nothing really complicated. So just some basic rules, the rules of algebra, just the high school algebra will suffice to solve this. So in particular, people coming from scientific schools will be really at ease with this, okay, because it's nothing really difficult. Also, it may be asked to find how a variable changes if the variables that define it change in a certain way. In this example, r equals this expression. We know that they are all positive values. Well, for certain positive values, r is 1. Then we know that t and k do not change. We know that p and s become half their value, and we want to know how r will change. You can also choose specific numbers just to have an idea of the answer, and then try to see if that answer will apply every time, or if it depends on the value of the variables. So in this case, when p and s both become half their value, r should become a fourth of its value, and since it was positive, r will decrease. Okay, but all this stuff is investigated in detail during the preparation week, and I think my time is over. So there would be more examples to show you, but I think I should stop here. And so I ask Elisa if, I don't know if you want to add anything about what I said, especially about the numbers of, I don't know, candidates, places available, or if you already mentioned that before.
Thank you so much, Riccardo.
Thank you.
I know that there are many questions also regarding the ranking. So I think that Luca can answer to the questions and doubts about the ranking.
Okay.
Yes, so I was listening to Professor Sarti's presentation, and Riccardo, you were more or less right. So basically,
okay, did you
I
say
know
something wrong?
No. You were definitely correct in numbers.
Okay,
so
great.
I know that it is one of the most frequently asked questions by students. So last year, among the EU category, we had like 1,500 applicants. As you correctly said, only 600, more or less, 650, managed to pass the cutoff score. So we're above the cutoff score. And the last student who has just enrolled actually ranked in position 254 if we only consider, let's say, students who passed the test. But
okay.
Since you can also obtain a really high score without, unfortunately, achieving the minimum score, which is 20 in one single section. So if we consider also these students, for instance, some students ranked in a very high position, more than 100, but with less than 20 points in one of the two sections. So if we consider also the people who didn't pass the cutoff score, the last admitted student was in position 302. So you said among 300 and 350, this is correct.
But considering also the people who did not enter the ranking.
Exactly. Okay. So if we only consider students who pass the cutoff, at the moment we are stopped at position 254. The average score of all students who enrolled, the 130, is 98. So you said also more or less 100, and it is confirmed.
Great.
It is confirmed. So I must confirm everything Riccardo said.
Okay, great. I was going through the questions in the chat. I see there are some for me. One is about the multiple choice questions. I can confirm that it's 4 options, not 5, because the mock test that you can download from the Unimed website is the very first mock test that was done, so it still contains 5 options per question, but it's 4 options. It will be 4 options in the live test.
Yeah, then I see a question. I live in England and I do chemistry, biology, French, and Latin for my A-levels. I apologize. I actually forgot to say that if you obtain an A-level in a foreign language, it also counts. So chemistry, biology, and French are okay to apply for the admissions test. Then, is it allowed to use pen and paper during the test? Yes.
Yes.
You can use a couple of like white paper and a pen. If you take the test at the test center, we will provide you with the material. If it is online, you will have to show 2 blank notes, 2 blank papers, and the pen that you are allowed to use.
Somebody was asking about the calculator, and you are not allowed to use a calculator during the test, unless you have special arrangements if you have a DSA certificate.
Exactly, special education needs. So students with special education needs can request calculators when applying for the test, and we will evaluate the requests and confirm the accommodations. Is the university degree valid in other countries? Yes, it is, of course. As per the EU regulation, the degree obtained in Italy is recognized in all of the other EU countries, and it is recognized as well in non-EU countries such as the US, for instance. So then it depends on the country, but yes, it is recognized. Okay, there are lots of questions. I don't know, maybe if you would like to ask questions, even switching on your microphone, it would be also okay. Is it...
Okay, I don't think there are more for me, so I think I will say goodbye to everyone. If you don't have any questions for me specifically, somebody asked for the material available, but unfortunately there is not much material yet for the HUMAT test because it's very new. So the best that you can do to prepare is come into the preparation week, because together we will go through all the exercises of the last live test. Maybe in any case, if you want to prepare for logical reasoning, IMAT and BMAT will be good ways to prepare, especially for the visual items and in general for the logical reasoning items.
Yes, Elisa is also sharing the screen with the list of books that you can use for preparation.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah, BMAT, IMAT, yeah, also UKCAT, why not? Yeah, don't forget to prepare also for the English part, which is quite challenging. So my advice is to read a lot of divulgative texts about scientific topics, and maybe do some summaries with the key points that you understood from the text. This is, in my opinion, the best way to improve your reading skills and basically reading comprehension skills. Okay, great. So
okay, I let Riccardo go. So we thank you very much for your presentation and for your availability.
No problem. Thanks for the attention, and good luck for the admission test to all the students who are attending today's event. And see you soon, hopefully.
Grazie.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Riccardo.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Wait, I have a question.
I'll try to go very quickly through the questions. We have like 5 more minutes. Alessio Romanelli is asking about the preparation week, and you will receive the final schedule and the instructions on how to connect in the next few days. So, of course, before Christmas. Adele Virgilio, yes, you can definitely apply as you have completed your IB program after 12 years of education. It doesn't matter if the high school lasts 4 years rather than 5. The procedures for the online test are specified in the call for applications. And yes, I'm sorry, your camera must be on as well as a mobile phone. So there will be 2 points of proctoring, let's say, from your back and from your computer. Can you use color pens or a mirror or make a model during the online test? If you, Lisa Catanzaro, if you are talking about arrangements for special education needs, this will be confirmed after you apply for the test. It depends on every single student. Sabrina Ceccarini, IB students are not required to obtain the A-levels, so no, only for UK students. Eunice Colireon, sorry for my pronunciation. If you're attending another university, you can apply for transfer, but transfers open in the summertime, and taxes and scholarships are different from university to university. European Baccalaureate, no, there are no requirements, specific requirements in terms of subjects. So it is important that you obtain it, achieve it. The Italian degree is accepted in Canada. Yes, it is. I think, is there any possibility to receive the presentation via email? I think, Elisa, you can answer this question.
Yes, I will ask to Professor Sarti if he will share the presentation, and after I can send it via Eventbrite, the presentation. So yes.
Okay, thank you, Elisa. If you have obtained a German Abitur, no, you don't need the A-levels. If there are simulations on the internet, and there is a sample test on our website. No, I'm just trying to go very fast. I'm sorry if I don't reply to all of your questions, but you're writing a lot. So maybe if I don't reply, you can use the info@unimed.eu. My colleague Elisa is typing the email address in the chat to ask your questions, and we will reply in the next few days. If a student is receiving the graduation certificate in July, yes, he or she can apply for the admissions test. What really matters, is that you obtain it in 2021 and you can start university. I'm sorry. For this. The preparation weeks are only in January, yes. Students who are studying biology at the moment, if you pass the test and you decide to enroll, you will, let's say, lose a year. Yes, because your degree course will in any case last 6 years, but you will have the possibility to ask for the recognition of credits already obtained in that university. The academic year starts in October 2021. For scholarships, there is a regulation which has been published on our website a few days ago, and in any case, there will be another online session next Friday. We'll talk about scholarships and fees. The non-EU marks are more or less the same as the EU. So top students reached about 120. The last admitted student reached more or less 80 out of 180. Okay. Students, yes, for again, students who obtain their high school title later on during the year 2020 can apply for. All right. I think I've gone through very quickly, and I'm sorry for it. All of the questions. I apologize if I didn't answer all of the questions. So please send us an email if you have any further doubts. Elisa and I, we personally thank you very much for attending this event. And last question, what is baccalaureate? It's a kind of high school title. The International Baccalaureate, it's like Maturità Scientifica, or it's simply a kind of high school qualification. So okay, thank you very much. Also about the books, please write us and we'll send you the textbooks that Elisa showed you in a slide before. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for your attention. Good luck for the test, and I hope to see you soon here in presence when possible, whenever possible. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.